Board of Adjustment, and this is a November 26th, 2024 Zoning Board meeting. I'm filling in for Rob Shaw, our chair, who cannot be with us tonight. The chair is in control of the meeting. To the extent practicable and advisable, the board will follow the procedures as identified in its bylaws. The applicant will present their case for 15 minutes, followed by questions by the board. Next, persons wishing to speak in favor or with questions or opposition will be asked to speak up for up to 5 minutes each. If there are questions or opposition, the applicant will have the 5 minutes to present a response. Finally, one and only one person with questions or an opposition will be permitted to speak again before the board deliberates and determines the outcome. The chair will notify speakers as time is expiring. Tonight, we will be hearing requests for deviation from the National Zoning Code in the form of applications for variances. A variance is a request that seeks permission to do something that the ordinance does not permit. Variances have 5 points of law to be met. These are summarized in board motions. Per the City of Nashua bylaws and State of New Hampshire revised statutes, a minimum of 3 or more affirmative votes are required to approve any motion. The board will hear all scheduled cases if a quorum of 3 voting board members is present at this meeting, and we have 5 present today. Any citizen has the right to contest the decision that this board makes. Should we make a decision that you believe is an error, you have the right to request a rehearing. A written rehearing request must be received by the City of Nashua Planning Department within 30 calendar days from the date of decision. Should this board not grant a rehearing request, you may file an appeal directly to the New Hampshire Superior Court. Please contact Mr. Falk of the Planning Department for more information. So for this meeting, we have the following full board members in attendance. We have myself, Steve Lionel, I'm the vice chair. We have Mr. J.P. Boucher, who serves as our clerk. We have Mr. Josh Neely, Mr. Jane Mancara, and we have alternate member Joseph Patry. In addition to board members, we have with us Mr. Carter Falk, who is the deputy planning manager. So I will now take roll call attendance. Mr. Boucher.
Present.
Mr. Mancara.
Present.
Mr. Neely.
Present.
Mr. Patry.
Present.
And I, Mr. Lionel, am present. So because we have 5 members in attendance, including alternates, all members will be voting unless somebody recuses themselves, and then they will not be voting. Mr. Falk, are there any changes to the agenda?
No, there are not.
Thank you. So I will now read the first case into the record. Any questions from the audience before I do that? Should always ask. Case number 1, owner Lori Grasso and Christian Carlson, address is 14 Dumaine Avenue, sheet H, lot 77, requesting special exception. Oh, okay, there was a special exception. I should have mentioned what that was. I didn't think there was one, but yes. A special exception is a request that seeks permission to do something zoning ordinance permits only under special circumstances. And it has 5 points of law to be met, which are different from variances. Okay, sheet H, lot 77, special exception from Land Use Code section 190-119A4 to expand a non-conforming use to construct a detached 1-story, 20-foot by 36-foot garage. This is in the PIMU zone, Ward 1. Is there somebody here to present the case? Okay. Please step up to the lectern and tell us what you want to do. Adjust the microphone to whatever's comfortable to you. Feel free to pull it out if you want, but make sure you speak into the microphone because we're recording this.
Good evening.
Please give your name and address for the record.
Christian Richard Carlson, 14 Dumaine Ave, Nashua, New Hampshire.
Thank you. Go
Do
ahead.
you guys have any questions for me?
Well, please just walk us through what you want to do very briefly. I mean, we have your application.
Yep.
Summarize for us and for the audience.
I have no garage right now, and I wanted to build a garage in my backyard, 20 by 36. And being over 600 feet, I got by the board people downstairs. They told me I had to put frost walls and a footing and everything like that. So that's why it's
Okay, so the building requirements are not something that we're concerned with. I think the issue is that you.
I can explain it real quick.
Okay, yes, please, Mr. Falk.
Mr. Clausen lives in a PI zone, and that zone does not allow single-family homes by right. His house is grandfathered, it's a legal conforming use, legal non-conforming use. And because the house is a legal non-conforming use, a garage would also be, so he has to have a special exception to expand on that non-conforming use. So that's why he's here, purely for the addition of a garage. It meets all setbacks, and open space, and accessory use area. It meets all of our other criteria. It's just that the use in that zone doesn't allow this, so that's why he's here.
Okay. That helps a lot. Thank you. Anything else to add? No? Okay. Any
It's just going to be,
questions
it's
from the
not
board?
going to be commercial use, just residential,
Right.
like my fishing boat and all the,
Yeah, and when I went by your property, I've never been on that street before, and I'm saying it's all very commercial, but I know that there are many parts of the city where what had been commercial park industrial is starting to fill up with residential housing. Okay, any questions from the board? No? Okay, you may have a seat.
thank you, sir. Thank you.
Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to speak in favor of this application? Is there anybody in the audience with questions, concerns, or opposition to this application? Okay. Not seeing any? Okay, I will close the public hearing and open the public meeting. So everybody will be voting on this. Mr. Patry, your comments.
I don't have any concerns. I'm in favor.
Mr. Mancara.
Yeah, I would agree. It seems very straightforward, reasonable use.
Mr. Neely.
Yeah, this is a transitional area. He's kind of being built around. So that being said, because it's already non-conforming, it's pretty standard for folks to want to have a garage in not just in that area, but everywhere in Nashua. So I'm in favor of this application.
Mr. Boucher.
I'm in favor also for all the reasons spoken to.
And I'm also in favor. Somebody care to make a motion? Mr. Mancara, thank you.
I'd like to make a motion that the application of Lori Grasso and Christian Carlson, the owners of 14 Domain Avenue, requesting a special exception from Land Use Code Section 190-119A4 to expand the nonconforming use to construct a detached one-story 20 by 36 garage be approved. We find that it is listed in the table of uses. It's a garage accessory to a residential use. It will not create undue traffic congestion or unduly impair pedestrian safety. In fact, it really doesn't change the use at all. It's just an additional garage where there isn't one today. It will not overload public water, drainage, sewer, or other municipal system. The special regulations are fulfilled. Actually, don't think there are any. And it will not impair the integrity or be out of the character of the neighborhood or be detrimental to the health, morals, or welfare of the residents.
Thank you. Do I have a second? Mr. Neely, thank you for your second. Any discussion of the motion? Ready to vote? All those in favor? That's unanimous. Congratulations, your special exception has been approved. Please be aware there's a 30-day window of appeal should somebody ask for a rehearing, but otherwise, feel free to proceed with your project.
Sir, you go back downstairs tomorrow or next week or whatever to get the permit itself and put it in my window, correct?
Just work with the building department on your building permit.
Okay, I already paid for it.
Yep, yep. But
Just work with the building department.
Do I have to wait for the 30 days?
no.
Should I
You,
get the frost walls in before winter?
You don't have to.
Okay.
If it was a controversial case and a lot of people against it, then maybe it'd be wise to wait, but
Okay.
I don't see that happening in your situation.
yep, yep.
So I get my knee shift. Is that it?
That's it, you're done.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
You too.
Okay. Case number 2, owner Peter O'Shea, applicant GM Roth Design Remodeling, care of Tracy Termel, address is 4 Hideaway Road, sheet G, lot 148, requesting variance from Land Use Code Section 190-16, Table 16-3, to encroach 7 feet into the 20-foot required side yard setback to construct an approximate 12-foot by 38-foot addition to connect house with detached garage for additional living space. This is in the R18 zone, Ward 2. Is there somebody here to present the case? Good evening. Come up to the lectern, give us your name and address, and walk us through what you'd like to do.
My name's Tracy Trammell. I'm here representing GM Roth. Do you need their address?
Your working address, some place that you can be contacted. If you're working for GM Roth.
12 Murphy Drive, Nashua.
Okay, 12 Murphy Drive, Nashua. Thank
Sorry
you.
about that.
Okay.
Here on behalf of Peter O'Shea and his wife, they have a house that they would like to expand. There's an existing separated garage. We'd like to connect both of those and increase their living space. We feel the variance will not be contrary to the public interest while adding space to the owner to expand their family. The existing house is already in non-compliance. We're not going to further violate that setback. It will increase the overall value and curb appeal, which for both the neighborhood and the community. It will observe the spirit of the ordinance. In addition to the overall aesthetic for the residents, the plan does not increase the non-compliance. So substantial justice will be done because Peter and Alicia have moved here. They love the community. They love their neighborhood. They wish to remain there. They have tried to look for other residences, and they haven't found anything that would work for them. So they'd like to stay where they are, and they would like to just make it work better for them. It will not diminish the values of the surrounding properties. Peter has addressed this with his neighbors, and they all agree that that would be a positive impact to the neighborhood. The unnecessary hardship is that it's such a small lot, and with the existing footprint, it doesn't allow for much expansion. So that's why we needed to increase the rear of the house to be equal with the existing garage, but not go any further than that.
Okay.
Any questions?
Questions from the board? Not seeing any? Okay, you have a seat. Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to speak in favor of this? We do have a letter from Alan and Donna Dow of 1 Hideaway Road saying our property is directly across the street from the O'Sheas. We fully support him in his request for an addition to his home. So we have that, and I didn't see any other. Sir, give your name and address for the record.
Yep, I am Peter O'Shea of 4 Hideaway Road. So just to reiterate what Tracy said, I've lived in Nashua since 2017, and I've gotten to really love the neighborhood, the proximity to where I work, where I shop, where I golf, all that stuff. And I want to stay in that house forever. So if there was another option to build, maybe that would be something we'd look at, but the most sensible thing to do is just to connect the house to the garage. Like Tracy said, no further back than the garage already sits. It'll look nice. I've talked to the neighbors, so yeah, I'm in favor.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks.
Hey, we generally take it for granted that the applicant is in favor of their application. But thank you for asserting that. Anybody else who wishes to speak in favor of this application? Anybody with questions, concerns, or opposition to the application? Not seeing any, I will close the public hearing and open the public meeting. Mr. Mancara.
I support the application. Well, first of all, just full disclosure, GM Roth is currently doing work on my home. I don't see that as a conflict, but I did
don't
want to
either.
get that on the record. But I do support the application. I think, you know, the special conditions on the property are the relatively small size of the lot, the fact that it's a corner lot, and the positioning of the existing home in the garage, both of which currently encroach on the setback. The addition itself, I think, is reasonable, and realistically, there's no way to do it that I could see without encroaching on the setback.
Mr. Neely.
Yeah, I'm in favor. I think this is a good creative way to add some space to this lot. You know, when you look at it, not adding a ton of construction there, but adding in the master bedroom and the master bath, it's going to change the whole complexion of this house, just by basically shoehorning it in there. So, I mean, the only other way they could try to do something was to go up, but I think this is a good creative use of space. It's a corner lot, as Mr. Mancaro was talking about, so I'm fully in support of this.
Thank you. Mr. Boucher?
I also support the application for the reasons spoken to, and again, you know, there are special conditions of the property, as explained previously, and also, obviously, as we all went out to the neighborhood, I did notice that this is not the only home that has this issue, so this is typical of this neighborhood, and there are other corner lots, if you go up Hideaway, that have similar issues that are already existing, besides the house that's right to the rear of this property on Ferry Street has got a huge addition practically on the street. So this is not untypical of this neighborhood. So, and again, the shape of the lot and where the house is situated. So I will support the application.
Thank you. Mr. Patrick?
Same. I don't have anything else to add.
Okay. And I'm also in support. Somebody make a motion? Mr. Mealy, thank you.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the variance for Peter O'Shea, owner, GM Roth Design Remodeling Incorporated, Tracy Termel, applicant, 4 Hideaway Road, Sheet G, Lot 148, requesting a variance from Land Use Code, Section 190-16, Table 16-3, to encroach 7 feet into the 20-foot required side yard setback to construct an approximate 12-foot by 38-foot addition to connect house with detached garage for additional living space. This is in the R18 zone in Ward 2. The variance is needed to enable the applicant's proposed use of the property, given the special condition of the property, and the benefits sought by the applicant cannot be achieved by some other method reasonably feasible for the applicant to pursue other than the variance. The board did have discussion. This is a relatively small lot with 2 frontage setbacks. This is pretty common in this neighborhood to have this type of issue. We did talk about how this is a creative way to fill in the space between the 2 buildings since they're already out of compliance, and therefore this would not be adding any additional compliance issues. We do believe this is within the spirit and intent of the ordinance. This will not adversely affect the property values of surrounding parcels. We did not have any type of testimony one way or the other on the property values, but we're assuming that they will not adversely affect it. This is not contrary to public interest. We have a letter in support from one of the neighbors. As noted by the board, there are similar houses with similar additions in this same neighborhood, and substantial justice would be served in that the applicant would not be forced to move to a different dwelling and is going to be able to age in place here. So for those reasons, I move that we approve the variance.
Mr. Boucher, thank you for your second. Any discussion of the motion? Ready to vote? Okay, all those in favor? Okay, that's unanimous. Congratulations, your variance has been approved. Again, there's a 30-day window of appeal, but you can proceed with your project. Okay. For this next case, Mr. Mancaro has asked to be recused, so there will be 4 of us voting on this case. Owner, Whiting Building, care of Dmitry Zhivatovsky. Oh, boy. Okay. Usually I don't have too much trouble with these, but sometimes I do. Applicant is Precision Installations, care of Matthew Forrester. Address is 30 Temple Street, Sheet 33, Lot 31, requesting the following variances. First, from Land Use Code Section 190-108, D2, to exceed maximum wall sign height 20 feet above ground permitted, 76 feet proposed. And second, from Land Use Code Section 190-103A, to allow an off-premises wall sign where business is located on a different floor from the proposed sign. This is in the D1 mixed-use zone, Ward 4. Is there somebody here to present the case? No. Well, then we will.
After the next case, then maybe?
We'll try again after the next case. So, Mr. Mancaro, come on back. Okay. It doesn't happen often. Okay. So, case number 4. Owner is Nashua Motorsports Realty, LLC, care of Russ Lyon. Applicant is Jillian Shed, address 9 Northeastern Boulevard. Sheet B, Lot 237A, requesting variance from Land Use Code Section 190-108C2 to exceed maximum wall sign area, 150 square feet permitted, 237.16 square feet proposed for a new auto dealership. This is in the HB zone, Ward 6. Good evening. Please give your name and address for the record and walk us through the case.
I'm Jillian Shed. I work at North Point Construction Management. We're the general contractor working on the Porsche dealership. Our address is 22 Hampshire Drive in Hudson, New Hampshire.
Okay.
We are here before you guys to request a variance as the signage that is being designated by the architect is larger than the square footage of the variance allowed. I believe it's 150, and we're at 237 for the lettering. We also have signage on the rear of the building that is on a backer, which is accounting into that square footage because it's on ATAS panels. So the backer is adding into that, what I would say is the displayable areas. So we have some, that's our request is to go above and beyond the 150 square feet with those 2 signs as well. So we have other signage that is all in compliance with the variance that is around the building. We have some down at the service drive-in. There's an emblem on the front facade, a vinyl applique, and then a monument sign that's being moved from another location to this area. There is a monopole that is existing. It is just the monopole, no longer has a sign on it anymore. It used to be the sign for the Holiday Inn. The sign was taken down when the building was taken down in 2021 by North Point as well. So when they took that sign down, they lost the grandfathered rights to have that sign stay at the size that it is. So that's another topic for a different day. So that's why we're here. So any questions?
Questions from the board? Mr. Neely?
Yeah, just a couple of questions. So when we talk about the total square footage, so we're talking about a Porsche sign on the front facing Northeast Boulevard,
Correct.
a Porsche sign facing the highway,
Correct.
and then also like a service center sign? and
There's a
then one
small
other thing?
service center sign that just says an emblem with the service.
But those are all going to add up to be the 237 square feet?
Yes.
Okay. And then, do you by any chance, and this is a shot in the dark, remember the square footage of the Holiday Inn sign that came down?
It was above the 150, but it was an approved non-conforming sign. So when I had chatted with Don about this, Don Michaud from downstairs, that sign had been applied for by Barlow Signs when the sign had changed, when Holiday Inn had done an update, and they had come in front of the town for a signage permit, and it had never been signed off on. So I'm not sure, I wasn't in the project at that point, it was years ago, that it changed from the old Holiday Inn sign to the new Holiday Inn sign, but that's at the monopole, and that sign has since been taken down. So anything with that is now kind of, we've gone well beyond the 180-day limitations there, so.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions from the board? Mr. Mancara?
Could you just walk me through, at least roughly, the square footage of the signage that would be on the different sides of the building?
Sure. Give me a moment while I look that up.
Of course.
So both Porsche signs, the lettering themselves is 91.5 square feet. The backer of the one on the rear of the building, which is facing the highway, is 145.6 square feet. So the backer is the
Right.
additional, a
And-
big portion of what's happening there.
What about facing the road in the front?
Say it again?
What's the square footage on the building face?
91.5.
91.5.
Yep. It's the
Thank
same size sign, it's just the one on the back has a different application because of the materials behind it.
Very good. Thank you.
So Mr. Neely?
I guess, just to just to get ahead of the question I think we're going to hear in a little bit. So the illumination, I mean, we're trying to make sure that the neighborhood on the Northeast Boulevard side is not blasted by these lights. Any thought process on, or anything you can tell us on how well illuminated that is? I assume it's going to be lit up all night long. That's pretty normal.
It would be. My understanding is that it would be, but it's also going to be able to be connected to dimmers. So if there is a continual issue, we could address it at that point. I don't think it would be any brighter than the McDonald's sign that's adjacent, which is open 24/7. But I don't know the specifics on the lumens of the lights. I have Harvey signs with me. I don't know if they might know, but I can find out more. I don't have any. It does have a red LED illumination at both faces, so.
And it's just going to be Porsche, like it's not like any scrolling?
No, nothing
It's
like that,
just,
sir. Yep,
This is
just
the light,
solid.
this is what it is, nothing changes?
Correct. If you've
Okay.
seen the building at Exit 5,
Yeah.
it's the same style sign, just unfortunately, we can't move it from there to here, but
Understood. Okay.
it's the same style sign, it's just a red lettering. And then there's, in the facade as well, I don't know if you can see it, there are strips of LED red light that are also connected to dimmers, so.
Any
So
other
it's
questions from
consistent.
the board? Not seeing any? Okay, you may have a seat. Is there anybody in the audience who wishes to speak in favor of this application? We do have one letter in opposition from Mr. Chris Ferris. Are you here tonight? You are? Would you like to, instead of reading the letter, come up and talk? Please give your name, speak into the microphone, give your name and address for the record. And,
My name is
you have
Chris
5
Ferris. I live at 10 Nutmeg Drive, Nashua.
Okay, go ahead.
All right, so I am in opposition of this. I think it's kind of excessive to have a sign larger than the rule as 150 square feet. Everyone knows there's a Porsche dealership there. More signage is not going to help the residents. We talked about the illumination of the thing. There's houses right across the street from this place, and they're just going to have to stare at this thing all the time. I don't think signage is going to be a benefit to the neighborhood at all, so.
Okay, any questions from the board? No? Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else in the audience with, who wishes to speak with questions, concerns, or opposition?
Hello, my name is Jenny Santiago. I live right across the street from where this Porsche dealership is being built. And the lights that are coming from McDonald's already is pretty lit, and it's really bright. And it's blocking my view from all the trees that are across the way. And there's like this blue Christmas tree that lights up every year. And now this building that's huge is blocking my view from the beautiful blue Christmas tree that's there. But I would not want to see a big Porsche sign into my house and stuff. I sit right by the window and look out all day as I'm working during the day. And to see that would definitely make me miserable. I would not be happy to see it. If they could keep to the restrictions, that'd be great, and also add some dimmers at night, that would be great too, because I don't want to have a big Porsche sign staring at me. And then to find out there's even more lights on the side, it just makes me very uncomfortable about the whole thing. So I'm against the whole idea.
I didn't hear you. Could you give your address, please?
12 Northeastern Boulevard, Nashua, New Hampshire.
Okay, thank you. Any questions from the board? Mr. Boucher.
So the building itself, does the building bother you there, or is it just going to be the sign on the building?
The building is a little bit bigger than what the hotel was that was there before, but that doesn't bother me as much as a huge sign. I mean, McDonald's sign bothers me already, so to have another one
Right.
would,
So their request is, obviously, they're looking for a bigger, more signage.
right.
They could, if they wanted to, not be in front of us and put just the sign on the front of the building.
Mhm.
And if it was within the square footage, we wouldn't be here.
Right.
I just want you to understand that I understand what you're telling us, and I know that you live there, so you're looking at McDonald's, you're looking at this. I just want you to know that that they could just put a sign on the front of the building, and then if they followed all the rules and the size, that would be there. There would be really no choice on that.
Right,
And I just want you to understand that,
Yeah.
so that when we deliberate, you understand, when we start talking about it in our own meeting, you understand where we're coming from, if you have, if you're thinking about why something is the way it is or isn't the way it is, okay? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board for Ms. Santano? No? Okay. Is there anybody else in the audience with questions, concerns, or opposition to this application?
Can I just respond to that last comment?
No. Not yet, anyway. Ms. Shedd, you have 5 minutes to speak to the concerns that were addressed, if you wish. Yes, absolutely.
Hello again, thank you. I'm Jillian Shedd again. Just coming back up, I appreciate the residents coming out to voice their concerns about this. We do take it very seriously, and we want to be mindful of their concerns. I will say that one of the reasons that we're here is because of the backer of the back, the rear sign that is not facing any of these homes. It is the one that is facing the Everett. That backer that's helped support that sign on the rear of the building is really, in my opinion, what's pushing us over the square footage size. That in and of itself was 141, I think we said. So that is almost 70, that's 50 square feet. That was towards the 70 that we're over in asking to the 250. So I think if we don't consider that, we're right in the thrust of where we'd be right along the edge of this request. So that's my comment back.
Mr. Boucher?
So let's address the illumination, okay? I live on the other side of the highway, so when I drive away out of my neighborhood, I could see a couple of signs. If I just go in my street, I could see the signs across the highway. So I know what the neighbor is talking about. So let's talk about the brightness. What do you? These are internally lit letters.
What was the question?
Are they? Is this sign internally lit?
It's LED internally lit, yes.
Internally lit.
Yes.
Okay. And then you said that there was a capability of dimming.
Yes.
This. Okay. And if the board decided, and we can discuss this and discuss it with staff, whether or not, if the board would decide to put some stipulations on dimming the light after a certain time, or basically maybe not having it on after a certain time, would that be something that you would be amenable to on the front side of the building? On the northeastern facing part of the building?
Facing Northeastern Drive?
Yeah.
I'd have to review with the client, yeah, I couldn't speak to that at this moment in time, but I would believe that we would be
Okay.
approachable.
I'm just trying to see,
Yeah.
where we're at with that signage in the front.
Yeah.
Okay.
I will say that we did pass the planning board with the exterior sightlights are not dimmable and have been set to be A/B switching so that we can do that. That was not a requirement by the planning board, but we went ahead and put that in so that we can do that if so needed. So we've done some due diligence in our planning to try to make it more agreeable for the residents so that not all of the exterior lighting is on full blast. We don't believe it wouldn't be on 24/7. So we can set that time clock, things like that, so.
All right, thank you.
Yeah. Carter?
Mr. Falk?
Any sign can't exceed 0.2-foot candles at the property line. This building is probably a little over 100 feet away from the property line in the front at Northeastern. So to have a sign that would exceed the 0.2 foot candles would be probably, it would happen.
Excessive.
That would be a massively bright sign, so
It would be like mortgage specialist,
it
right?
would be 10 times worse than that. So the signage, the lighting, whatever they have, I mean, I think we can be assured that it would meet the lighting code.
Yeah, I unfortunately don't know the lumens off the top, like without that right now, and I apologize for
Over 100
that.
feet away, it would have to be something that's like a bright spotlight to exceed that with a property line.
I believe, yeah, there was a lumens plan done with the civil plan when we went to planning, and that was,
They asked for a
that,
waiver.
I don't think it would have included the signage at that time. I think it was only site lighting and the wall packs from the building. So,
Okay. Any other questions from the board? Thank you. Mr. Ferris, if you wish, well, one and only one person who's spoken questions or opposition may come up and has 5 minutes for a final rebuttal to the issues that were brought up. You and Ms. Santiano can discuss which one of you it's going to be. You're the lucky winner. Okay, again, give your name and address for the record.
My name is Chris Ferris. I live at 10 Nutmeg Drive, Nashua. I just want to rebut the point that you made about if they made a sign that was within the code, then we wouldn't be here. Well, let them make a sign that is within the code. It doesn't benefit the neighborhood, like I said earlier, for doing this. The only person that benefits from this is the Porsche dealership. It's not good for the surrounding area. I don't know why. I'd like to know the business reason for having so much signage. You know, people don't drive down the highway and go, ooh, see a Porsche sign, and therefore buy a car. They look into it ahead of time. They know where your building is. We don't need excess signs. That's all. Oh, I don't know. There's rebuttal.
It's a highway business, yes. This is a highway business zone lot.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not the lot's not in a residential zone.
I mean, there's people who live right across the street from it. That's,
The zoning district where the Porsche dealership, that's a highway business zone, so that zone allows by right 150 square feet.
okay, then let them do 150 square feet. We're not here about 150 square feet. We're here about 237 square feet,
Yeah.
which is
Yeah. However, let me point out that
50% bigger.
what's been pointed out is that the increase of the size is non-illuminated backer. The letters are the same size on each side. So if they weren't doing this backer part, then they would be within the limits, and
Okay.
we would.
So why do we have the limits if we can just have hearings and override them?
Well, this is why this board exists, sir. Is that the zoning code has various limits, and people come here with applications for variances to those limits. And we hear them, and if we think they're reasonable based on conditions of the property and other things, then we grant the variances, and sometimes we don't. But that's why we're here. I mean, if it was, everything had to adhere to the ordinances, this board would not exist. So that's why we're here.
Yeah, and I can understand variances, but we're talking, it's like 50% above the limit. So, I mean, the limits, we're blowing it out of the water here. It's not even close.
Yes, Mr. Falk.
Okay, some of the hardest issues that the board has are with large buildings. This is a very, very large building. If, using your analogy, Home Depot would be allowed 150 square feet of a sign, which would look like a license plate on the front of that building. They have 1,800 square feet of signage, but no one ever thinks Home Depot has large signs on the face of their building because the size of that building is massive. Same thing with Target, Walmart, Dick's Sporting Goods. You know, sometimes they have 300 or 600 square foot signs that look small, but they're 4 times what the code allows. So it's also the scale and bulk of a building that adds into the size of a sign that the applicant would want.
And I understand technically this is in a commercial area, but all those examples you just listed, nobody lives anywhere near those.
Oh, they
Home
do.
Depot, there's trees and stuff separating it. If you're talking about the one up on exit 6, there's apartment buildings behind it, but they can't even see the building. Dick's Sporting Goods is in the mall, there's no houses near it. I think those are not apt
I think there's
comparisons.
probably dozens and dozens of examples of large-scale buildings. I'm not going to
Okay.
get into an argument with you. there's dozens of them throughout the city that are large, bulky buildings that have large signs. And I'm not speaking as an advocate for Porsche dealership, I don't own one. So, I'm just saying that there are signs that are, that exceed our sign ordinance that are in scale with the size of a big bulky building.
And
That's it, that was my point.
And that's what this board considers.
Mhm.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
So I will now close the public hearing and open the public meeting. Let's see. Mr. Boucher, your thoughts?
I'm generally supportive of the application. So, again, the sign facing the highway obviously has a backer on it. Without the backer, I think they'd still be over it by maybe, I don't know what it is, 18, 20 square feet. But again, the sign facing Northeastern Boulevard, which is, I think, more controversial for the neighbor across the street, or controversial, I don't know what word I would choose, maybe that's not the correct word. The most concerning would be that. But again, the building is in a particular zone. Again, special conditions, or the uniqueness of the building, it's a large building. It's a building that we didn't have to do any other, there was no variances made for that building to go up. That building is all within the guidelines that the city has for that district. So again, they're looking for a sign to identify the business, which I think is reasonable. Any business has a right to advertise a business. And again, they are not looking for any standalone signs up near the highway, up 30, 40, 50 feet high. They're looking strictly for signage. I think we're really focusing on the signage that is in the front and the back of the building. So again, scale of the building to me is in mind. As noted, the building is off the street, and again, they have to follow certain signage rules. Again, concerned about the neighbor across the street. There are 2 or 3 homes across the street there. McDonald's sign has obviously been there for a long time. I think the colors in it and everything, obviously make it bright, the yellow and all that. So if the board decided that we would ask that they do the dimming, I think, to me, it would be the neighborly thing to do, but I'm not certain that I would hold up my approval on the application for that. Again, I think that it meets all the criteria. I think they've followed everything. They're just looking for some overage. Yes, the number sounds large, but again, when we look at different projects, different size buildings, this is what we're taking into account for. It is a large, very large building on a large lot for that area.
Mr. Neely?
When I first saw the application for this, it reminded me of the application for FW Web and the Exit 5. And when we first saw it, the total square footage was a lot. But when they broke it down to, contractor entrance, FW Web over here, FW Web over here, it made a lot more sense. Doing the drive-by here, I concur with Mr. Boucher, that we do need to be cognizant that this is kind of a transition zone. See, this is a HB zone, but you've got a neighborhood right there. I do hear and understand what everybody is talking about. I do believe that the applicant here has done a good job breaking up the square footage. When I think back to Holiday Inn, those are at least two large signs. I think the signage is going to be a lot smaller. So I am in favor of this application. I could go either way on whether we make it a special condition to dim the lumens. We can have that discussion, but I am generally in favor of this. I think this will look good when it's done because it's going to be broken up around different sides of the building.
Mr. Mancara?
I struggle with this one a bit, but I do support the application, and I think mainly because I do feel that having frontage on a busy road, Northeastern Boulevard, and also on the Turnpike is a special condition of this property, it's reasonable to want to have signage on both sides of the building, certainly on the turnpike, and obviously in front of the building. The overage really is on the turnpike side. The sign that faces Northeastern Boulevard and faces the residential area in the front is less than what would be allowed if there were no sign on the rear. So given the fact that they could in fact have a larger sign if it were the only one on the front of the building, inclines me to support this application.
Thank you. Mr. Patry?
I also struggled with this one. I certainly understand the neighbors' concerns, and I would like to have us put in something about dimming, and maybe you guys need to come back if that's not something feasible for us to put in tonight. But I think the point that, it's the sign on the back that's what's putting them over, and they could put a larger sign in front. So this is essentially limiting the size of the front, the size of the sign they can put in front. So I'm in favor.
Thank you. I'm in favor of the application, and I would not want to see a condition added for dimming because, as has been noted, it's the sign facing the highway that causes us to be here tonight. It is a big building, and because the lettering will be red, it's not going to be as noticeable as, let's say the McDonald's sign is. And it would look really strange to have a much smaller sign there. And still have the wayfinding sign on the turnpike side. So I would be in support of this without any conditions. So we do have some discussion about conditions. Any further thoughts, Mr. Mancara?
Yeah, I do believe that dimming the lights on the building generally would be the neighborly thing to do, but I think I'm not inclined to make it a condition for two reasons. One, for the reasons that you mentioned, they could by rights have a sign that's illuminated so long as it complies with our lighting ordinances in the front, and it appears that it does. But secondly, I also don't feel technically qualified to establish what that limitation would be. Just saying you should dim it, what does that mean? So I would struggle to impose that, a condition to that effect, although I would certainly urge the applicants to dim the lights generally on the property if possible. In the evening, I should say.
Any further discussion, comments? No? Would somebody care to make a motion? Mr. Mancara, thank you.
I'd like to make a motion that the application of Nashville Motorsports Realty LLC, CO Russ Lyon, owner, Jillian Shedd, applicant, 9 Northeastern Boulevard, requesting a variance from the Land Use Code Section 190-108C2 to exceed the maximum wall sign area, 150 square feet permitted, 237.16 square feet proposed for a new auto dealership be approved. That is in the HB zone in Ward 6. We find that the variance is needed to enable the applicant's proposed use of the property, given the special conditions of the property, and that the benefit sought by the applicant cannot be achieved by some other method reasonably feasible for the applicant to pursue other than the variance. We find the special conditions include the fact that the property has frontage both on Northeastern Boulevard and on the Turnpike, as well as the overall size of the building. Generally, in looking at the building's massing, a sign smaller than what proposed really would, we find, be lost in the, given the overall size. We find that it is within the spirit and the intent of the ordinance. Signage is necessary to identify the business, as well as to advertise the business, and again, given the scale of the property, we find that it's reasonable. We do not believe it will adversely affect the property values of surrounding parcels. We did have opposition from two abutting or nearby property owners, but we have no evidence, or at least I saw no evidence that it would actually diminish surrounding property values. We find that it's not contrary to the public interest and that substantial justice would be done to allow
the business to reasonably denote and advertise its existence. And again, given that the overage is on the Turnpike side and not on the front of the building, what's on the front of the building is less than what would be allowed. Otherwise, we do believe that substantial justice would be done and it would not be contrary to public interest.
Thank you. Do I have a second? I'll second, or
Your choice.
I'll second it. Get my name in there. Okay. Any discussion on the motion?
Yes. Just to be clear for the record, I think I heard you correctly, but when we're referring to the overages on the side of the highway, what we're really saying is that that has a backer on it. And we're looking at that correctly, just so we're clear for the record, that we look at that, if there was no backer, we could be in a different position. They could have come in probably right at the, and so in the explanation of this, in case this were to be reviewed, I think what you're trying to make clear is that there's a backer on the sign that has to be there because of the construction of the building, and that's included in the sign size.
I would agree that was a finding as well. Yes.
Okay. Yes.
Right. Thank you.
Okay. And further discussion? All those in favor? It's unanimous. Congratulations, your variances have been approved. Again, there's a 30-day window of appeal. Please contact Mr. Falco of the Planning Department if you have any questions. Now, do we have anybody for case number 3, which was 30 Temple Street? Okay. So I'll read that case into the record. Owner is Whiting Building, care of Dmitry Zhivatovsky. Applicant Precision Installations, care of Matthew Forrester, 30 Temple Street. Sheet 33, Lot 31, requesting the following variances. 1, from Land Use Code Section 190-108, D2, to exceed maximum wall sign height 20 feet above ground permitted, 76 feet proposed, and 2, from Land Use Code Section 190-103A, to allow an off-premises wall sign where business is located on a different floor from the proposed sign. This is in the D1 / mixed-use zone, Ward 4. Good evening. Please give us your name and address for the record and walk us through what you want to do.
Yes, I'm Matthew Forrester, 15 Preston Street, Millville, Massachusetts. So basically, it's the sign is just like it's being positioned next to the other signs at the top of the building. So that's how they planned it out. I don't think there's no other signs on the building except for at the top. So I don't think it would be aesthetically pleasing to have a sign somewhere in the middle of the building.
Okay. That it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Questions from the board? Mr. Boucher?
What floor is this company occupying?
I believe they're occupying the 6th floor.
The 6th floor, okay.
And these signs are basically above the 7th floor, is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah.
As with all the other signs on the building.
Yeah, there's one sign on the left and one sign on the right, and according to the application, this would be a third sign in the middle.
Correct.
Is that correct? Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. Mr. Boucher?
And illuminated?
Yes, it is illuminated.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, any questions from the board further? No? Okay, you may have a seat. I don't see anybody in the audience, which is, I assume Mr. Mancera is not commenting since he has recused himself from this case. And we have no letters on this case. No. So I will close the public hearing and open the public meeting. Mr. Neely.
So I am in favor of this application. This is a distinctive building in a distinctive place. It already has 2 sets of signs for some of their companies inside in that same location above the 7th floor. This is just adding a third one to the two that are already there, so there is precedent for it. Yeah, I don't see any reason to not vote in favor of this. It won't affect the property values. We have nobody's testifying against it, so this is really very similar to what's already there.
Thank you. Mr. Patry?
Yeah, I don't have any concerns. I'm in favor.
Mr. Boucher?
So I was here when I think I was the only one here, still here, that when we approved this back in 2016. And I remember this case because of the issue of how many times the applicant would come back, and there was all this concern. I think there's things that have changed in that timeframe. I'm generally in favor of the application, but my concern would be going down the road, just, again, if there are more tenants come in, they want to start, I don't want that building to look like a circus in front of the building. But I think that the third sign, I'm okay with it. Again, size of the building, the property owner's given it their approval. They know who they have for tenants in there, and so, the next, if there would be another application for that would be on its own merits. But again, there was concern back then. I was in favor of the signs back then, but I do remember the concern, for the future. So, but I don't see this as a major issue here for myself.
Okay. I'm generally in favor, too. It's not too typical to see three company signs along the top of a building. I do often see two, but I don't really see any alternative here. And if the building owner is okay with this and we have no objections from anybody else, I don't have a reason to vote against it, so I'm in favor. I'll do the motion. Oh, somebody else would like to. Okay. The owner is Whiting Building, care of Dmitry Zhivatovsky. Applicant Precision Installations, care of Matthew Forrester, address 30 Temple Street. Sheet 33, lot 31, requesting the following variances. 1, from Land Use Code Section 190-108, D2, to exceed maximum wall sign height 20 feet above ground level permitted, 76 feet proposed. And 2, from Land Use Code Section 190-103A, to allow an off-premises wall sign where business is located on a different floor from the proposed sign. This is in the D1 MU Zone, Ward 4. The board finds this variance is needed to enable the applicant's proposed use of the property. This building has 2 existing business signs on each corner, and this would be a third one at the same level above the 7th floor. Special conditions of the property is it's a large multi-tenant building, and the benefit sought by the applicant cannot be achieved by some other method reasonably feasible for the applicant to pursue other than the variance, because there's really no other place to put the sign. The board believes this is within spirit and intent of the ordinance. We have no testimony that will adversely affect the property values of surrounding parcels. The board does not have any finding that is contrary to public interest, and substantial justice to the applicant would be served by providing a wayfinding sign for their customers. So I make a motion to approve these area variances.
Second.
Mr. Patry, thank you for your second. Any discussion of the motion? All those in favor? It's 4-0. Congratulations, your variances have been approved. Again, there's a 30-day window of appeal. Contact the planning department if you have any questions.
Did you second the portion?
No, this is the first time I've ever applied for a permit. Is that, I'm good now? Like-
Yep, you're
Just going to work with the building department to get your permit on that.
Okay. So I come back during, Oh, now, you mean?
No, no, no.
Oh, all right, all right.
But you will need appropriate permits from the city. We're just discussing the variance to the ordinance that allows for a sign in the position that you're planning on putting.
Okay, all right. So I just get into contact with the building department?
Yes,
All right, thank you
absolutely.
very much.
Okay, good night.
Thank you.
Who seconded the Porsche case? Was that you or Joe?
I did, yes. We had a little battle, and I did. Okay. So we have minutes from the November 12th meeting. Give Mr. Mancaro a moment to sit down. Does anybody see any edits, changes, issues with the minutes? Okay, Mr. Patrick.
So I think page 7, the motion to approve, I think that should be denied, if I'm looking at the right case.
Page 7, this is the Westwood Drive.
I wondered about that. I assumed sort of this back and forth.
I think that should say, because we did deny that one, right? That was the,
No, we approved Westwood.
We approved that
oh,
one.
we approved that one, okay.
Yeah. That was the case with the ALS.
Oh, right.
Yes.
So
We were going to put a 50-year.
Right, never mind.
So, I guess I didn't read the minutes very carefully. On page 6, it says motion by Mr. Neely to deny the variance. And then it says
Right.
motion to approve carried.
That's true, yes.
That's what I meant,
Or motion to
yes.
approve, carry.
Yes,
Where does it?
So
Yeah, motion to
page
deny
6.
carried.
Really?
Yes,
that's,
yes, that
that is what I, yes, that's what I
yes.
meant. I knew that.
Motion to deny carried, yes, that's the right.
Yeah.
So this is case number 1, and just at the very end of it, where it says, it currently says motion to approve carried 4-1, that really should be motion to deny, because that's what the motion was.
Right, that's what I thought.
Okay, so Mr. Falk has that. Thank you for noticing that, I overlooked it. Any other comments on the minutes? A motion to approve the minutes as amended?
Yes.
Mr. Neely, thank you. A second? I'll second it, okay. So Mr. Neely moved to approve, I second it. All those in favor of approving the minutes as amended?
I'm going to abstain.
Mr.
I
McCarroll
wasn't
is going
here.
to abstain, so that's 4-1, 4-0, with one abstention.
I had one, there was one spelling error on page 26, the homeowner's name. The third line, we had Pater, P-A-T-E-R, I think it should be P-A-T-A-R.
Yes, you're correct. Okay, Mr. Falk has noted that. Thank you. Eagle eyes. Okay. So that's approved with notes. Okay, we have an agenda for December 10th. Does anybody see any regional impact of the December 10th agenda? I'm not seeing anybody saying that they have any regional impact, so, okay. So at this point, we are adjourned. Motion to adjourn, 7:33.
Right, good job, team.
Excellent.